Good morning. I'm Andy Myers at Weiss Research.
I'm Jen Amos, and this is your morning market update for Thursday, March 10th. Stocks on Wall Street opened lower following some disappointing data on the labor market. 397,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment benefits last week. That was 26,000 more than the previous week, when jobless claims fell to their lowest level in nearly 3 years, and it was a much bigger increase than expected. However, the reading is still consistent with a slowly improving labor market. Separately, the U.S. trade deficit expanded by more than 15% in January to $46.3 billion. That was a much bigger gap than economists predicted, due mainly to the increase in oil prices during the month.
The major equity markets around the world are broadly lower as well, following an international trade report from China. It posted an unexpected deficit of $7.3 billion in February, the largest gap in 7 years. Imports rose by nearly 20%, but exports grew just 2.4%, hurt by the Chinese New Year holiday. In January, China had a trade surplus of $6.5 billion, and economists had expected a similar number last month. European investors are also reacting negatively to a downgrade of Spain's credit rating. Moody's cut the Spanish government's sovereign debt by one notch to AA1, bringing it in line with Standard & Poor's rating. Moody's also put a negative outlook on Spain, a signal that a further cut is possible. The company said it's concerned about Spain's ability to improve its finances and that the restructuring of the nation's banks could cost more than expected. U.S.-traded shares of Banco Santander and BBVA, Spain's two largest financial institutions, are both dropping more than 3% on the move.
Another big stock decliner this morning is ARM Holdings. The British chip maker is falling more than 7% in London trading and on Wall Street, following a report by J.P. Morgan Cazenove. Analysts there said that sales of non-Apple tablet computers may be much weaker than expected this year, and that manufacturers could have an oversupply of more than 17 million units. ARM is a big supplier of semiconductor for tablet computers, as is Dutch chipmaker ASML, which is also tumbling today. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. That stock is soaring 28% on news that Starbucks will produce and sell Green Mountain's single-serving coffee packs and its Tazo brand tea. Shares of Starbucks are jumping 8% following the deal.
Checking in on the currency and commodity markets, where investors are reacting to that Chinese trade deficit. A slowdown in the world's second-largest economy would cut into demand for energy, and crude oil prices are responding, dropping back to around $103 a barrel. Gold is trading lower as well, to around $1,420 an ounce right now. Meanwhile, concerns about the global economic recovery, along with renewed fears about Europe's sovereign debt problems in the wake of Spain's credit rating downgrade, are boosting the U.S. dollar against other major currencies. That's the latest from Weiss Research. Have a great trading day.